Think of 3 things you're most grateful for in this very moment. Take a minute. If you're driving, do not close your eyes. If you're somewhere where you could sit, close your eyes. You put your hand on your heart and your other hand on your belly, and just breathe in gratitude. What are you grateful for? What are some miracles that happened for you today? And by the way, don't look for the big miracles. Even the small ones are important, right? In every small miracle that you create something much bigger. So sometimes those small little wins are even better than the big wins, because it means that you got little things done to get you to the big stuff, right? So think about what you're grateful for. Oh, I've got a good topic. I just wrote a really cool post. And it's a quote. I had a conversation with a friend of mine today, and it sparked this conversation because as I'm doing this really, really amazing group, this 21-day masterclass that I'm teaching, I'm just so lit up by all the couples that are in this and fully committed to whatever this looks like. I mean, they trusted me in 21 days of doing work. They had no idea what they were getting themselves into. And here they are committing themselves and their practice of bettering themselves so that they can find or attract that committed love that they're seeking. And so it's interesting to see who is committing to this for real and who is not in commitment to that. And I will tell you that I interviewed every single person before they came on to the group. And one of the things that was important for me to let everyone know was their commitment piece to love, right? What are you committed to? And so my quote for today is, if you want a committed relationship, be infatuated with your commitment to self. Oftentimes we place that commitment expectation on someone else. And we all know that when we have this high expectation, what follows expectation but disappointment? And so we're putting a lot of pressure on other people to commit to us, and we're literally like taking notes on it, right? Whatever he did here, it does not mean that he's committed to us, so I'm out of here, right? Because we do create a lot of safety mechanisms to protect ourselves from being hurt, because all of us have experienced some sort of heartbreak, some sort of disappointment, some sort of rejection, abandonment, all the above. We've experienced, to some degree, we've experienced a lot of these things, and thereby we've created these walls up that keep people far away. We keep people at a distance because it's safer to keep people at a distance than it is to open our hearts and go in, even though, and I say this all the time, when you say yes to love, you say yes to a committed relationship, you're saying yes to heartbreak and hurt. And we've somehow made it a bad thing, right? Now, that's not to say that heartbreak and pain and hurt is not painful. I mean, gosh, it is. I've been through plenty of it, and it is gut-wrenching, it's visceral, and it's so hard to go through, and I've gone through my fair share of them. But I also found that I was looking, and I was saying I was looking for a committed relationship, but I wasn't really committed to myself and my own practice and my own infatuation with myself and what I can create until this year. When I started to do the work, I really started to kind of go in and really feel everything on a very visceral level, on a very somatic level, where I can really feel the pain and hold the pain that I experienced as a child, and I could be maternal with it. I could really be with it, and I could again commit to myself, show myself that I am worthy of commitment, so that that expectation is no longer energetically put onto anyone else out there. And it literally clears the space, and it creates this freedom to allow the person that I'm most aligned with to come forward. And committing to myself also supports my authentic confidence, and it's that authentic confidence that gets me the clarity of having that partner that I most desire. And it's the same thing for you, right? We spend so much time judging and comparing and looking at everyone else and what everyone else has, that we forget that we get to be infatuated with ourselves. We get to literally create some sort of a practice, a daily practice, a non-negotiable practice that gets us to believe in our bodies, in our systems, right? Our somatically, like literally inside all of it, that we get to believe that we're worthy of being infatuated over. And if we can't do that for ourselves, how are we expecting it to be done by someone else, right? And so I feel like it's I call it a hook. We hook people in, and in order to prove to ourselves, this is how mental we are. We hook people in to prove to ourselves why we're not worthy of love, right? Because we've sort of been conditioned somatically. Every single pain and heartache, we've trained our bodies and our central nervous system, we've trained it to believe that love is supposed to be painful. Love is supposed to be hard. Love is supposed to blah, 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 fill in the blank for yourself, right? And there's no way someone is gonna receive me for all I am. There's no way that someone is gonna accept me for who I am. There's no way. Again, fill in the blank, whatever your story narrative is for you. It's much different than it is for me. But for me, it was for a long time that I'm not lovable. So I would bring that to any possible relationship, and I would bring that to them, and of course, it's like there's no way that they can measure up to that high expectation, and it would fall apart, or it would end, or it would not even start, right? So again, we get to be devotional. We get to be infatuated with the work we get to do for ourselves, to heal ourselves and to grow, but not, here's the thing that I do want to mention, because what a lot of people do is they say, well, I'm not ready for a relationship. And I always invite people, if you really want to do the work, you really want to grow, get into a relationship, because that's where you're going to see all of it. It's going to be your mirror to allow you to see who and what you've become, where you come from, where your stories and narratives were birthed from, right? And when you know that, you can only know that if it's shown to you, and it's only shown to you through a relationship, right? Again, a mirror. And relationships are really, it's almost like going to a university, right? It's going to a university and learning and taking classes and learning more and more and more about yourself. And why is that important to learn more and more about yourself? Well, when you learn about yourself, you can make more sound decisions. You could start to be very clear about what it is that works for you and what doesn't work for you. You could create boundaries. You could start to create and get very much in touch with your core values, what's important to you, right? Everyone gets to know what's important, right? You're not attracting anyone that's willing to come to the plate. I used to date anyone that would come to the plate. I wasn't discerning about who I was bringing into my life, and I continually attracted people who I know that subconsciously I believed would leave me anyway, and so I hooked them in. I would hook them in, and again, it was to prove to my body, and it doesn't make a lot of sense because it's not logical, but it almost was like this hook sort of validated, that's what I was looking for. It validated that part of me that didn't believe that I was worthy of love. And so of course I'm going to attract people who didn't love themselves, who didn't believe in themselves, but they had their own hook on me because I provided whatever I provided for them. So it was like a lot of mismatches. And so what I'm teaching people in this group, in this container, and again for when I work with men and what I teach them is to reevaluate those hooks, to reevaluate how you've been showing up and what you've been putting out there, and changing your narrative so that your body can start to believe your worthiness. When you believe your worthiness, you can now step confidently into possible matches that actually do match you, and you can see when they don't match you what it feels like. And you could say, not for me, no thank you, next. Right? As opposed to being afraid and just kind of getting into a relationship, and you don't want to rock the boat, you don't want to wait, you don't want to create any explosions, but you're in it because, well, it's just there, right? I mean, how many times have you gone into relationships where, oh, it's convenient, right? I mean, I did that with someone. I was with someone for 14 years with that hook. I was with someone for 14 years, and this is what I told myself. And I remember clearly how many times I told myself, don't cause any waves. I mean, he gets you, you get him, it's fine. No one else will understand you like he does. I mean, the bullshit that we feed ourselves is just insurmountable. So my point is this: start to get infatuated with committing to yourself. Get infatuated with yourself. Get to know yourself. And I don't mean infatuation where you're obsessing over, right? It's not like obsessive compulsive. I can't speak anymore. It's not an obsessive compulsive invitation. It really is an infatuation, meaning start to get infatuated and then create that love for yourself, that love that you crave from someone else, that commitment that you crave from someone else. Because what does commitment give you but that foundation and that safety that we're seeking from one another, right? Create that safety through your practice, your devotional practice of yourself, so that you can show up in the world from that space. Imagine that. Imagine showing up from that space of confidence, but authentic confidence, so that people can mirror to you, the people that you attract will mirror to you the same exact thing. And then you start to have aligned relationships with people. And by the way, how fulfilled would you be then, right? How fulfilled would you be when all of a sudden it all starts to make sense and it just kind of aligns, and you're not having those like weird sort of like, it's almost like putting a square in a peg hole, right? You're no longer doing that. You're now putting a peg in a peg hole, right? Or a square in the square hole. You're putting the right pieces together to align for the right match. So you're no longer attracting those matches that make no sense to you, and you're trying to make sense. You're trying to fix them, and you're trying to mold them, and you're spending all this time, you're expanding all this energy for something that's really not worth your while. I mean, yes, it's worth your while because you get to learn, but I mean, imagine all that energy and all that time spent with those kinds of relationships, and imagine taking all that and bringing it to something that's healthy, something that's thriving, something that's growing. It's almost like, do you want to play in a field of weeds, or do you want to play in a field of whatever I don't know, you guys, I don't know the flowers, so I don't have a good example of a flower that lives all year. Yes, an annual. It's some sort of like a beautiful flower that lasts all year, right? That lasts through the seasons, like whatever flower that is, you guys, for those green thumb people. That's not me. But anyway, wouldn't you want to play in that field where things are growing and things are dying too? Because that's part of the process, you guys, right? Part of growth is letting go. So there is a lot of letting go, but it's so seamlessly. It's not so dry and brittle, and like sometimes it grows and sometimes it doesn't. It literally, like, there's a continuation, there's a momentum that happens in those types of relationships that make you feel like, it feels aligned. It's like that sense of freedom, that sense of, like, I describe it as, the end of a breath. So when you take a breath, it's like that bottom part of a breath where you're just like, you're like melting. Like, that's the kind of relationships we get to strive for. That's what we get to attract, not avoid it, not say, I'm not ready for one right now. I'm avoiding it. But when you're saying you're avoiding it, what you're really saying is, I'm scared as fuck. I don't want to get hurt. I'm going to keep it at arm's length. Like, what do you mean? When do you think you're ever going to be ready? I mean, again, when you say yes to love, you're saying yes to heartbreak. So when are you ever going to be ready for either, right? There's never a timeline for us to say, okay, it's going to happen now. Now you go, right? The work is really in the relationship, and that's when it's beautiful, and that's when your heart is open, and that's when you're most vulnerable, and that's when you're most triggered, right? You're activated, everything is activated, and you get to look at all that. I mean, what a gift that you get to look at all that, you get to heal all that, you get to work on and grow and learn. You can't do that alone. You can't. You could take as many courses as you want, but until you actually are experientially in the process of it, you will not. So this group that I created, actually, they're going through partnership together. While there's no dating, I took that off the table. They're not allowed to date. They're not allowed to nothing is allowed other than to practice with each other. So we're simulating what a relationship really feels like through some of the prompts that I'm giving them and some of the exercises they're doing together. But that's what it's about. right? Like we get to do work, and I can't wait to create this container even bigger so people can kind of step in, and even people who are timid or scared, they can step in and be like, okay, I could practice here. It feels okay. And then take that confidence that they're building in within themselves with all the feedback that they're getting, and they're taking that out into the real world where they can actually really practice true authentic connections. You guys, we need to stop with these inauthentic connections that we're pretending to be in, and we're using each other, and we're hooking each other, and we're manipulating each other into more and more and more validation of how unworthy we are. I mean, it's painful to see what's going on in there. It's so painful for me to see that when you're sort of entering. I mean, I'm having, yesterday or the day before, I had a man reach out to me and ask me, are you looking for true love, or do you have a problem with online dating? And I'm like, not sure how to answer that, but I don't have a problem with online dating. I feel it's a really beautiful opportunity for me to meet people I wouldn't otherwise meet. And poor guy had no idea who he's talking to. Poor man. I'm sorry, you guys. But he expressed that he's not scared of it, but he is scared of getting hurt. And it was so interesting to see, and also men that I work with, and how they express how scared they are to get hurt, right? There's such a big weight on the possibility of being hurt, but when did we make being hurt a bad thing, right? When you were a little kid, do you remember being hurt? Do you remember falling and scraping your knee, or maybe somebody said something mean to you? Did it last forever? No, it didn't last forever. It lasted for as long as it did, and then you moved on, right? So it's the same thing with heartache or disappointment or whatever it is that we set ourselves up for, right? On the other side of that is an opportunity for you to see why you got hurt, an opportunity to see where that hurt comes from, so that you can grow, so you can better yourself, so that you can create something really wonderful and beautiful in the world. Hi there. I was at a rant, Sarah. I'm going to rant about this commitment stuff. Anyway, it's been beautiful. It's so beautiful. So it's such clarity when you're so clear about this thing. And so anyway, I'm inviting you so strongly, and so from my heart, I'm inviting you to start to get infatuated with committing to yourself, because your self practice is everything. It's everything that's going to give you that thing that you truly desire. And I don't mean the thing that you think that you need, or that people tell you should have, like the picket fence and the marriage. Fuck all that. Like that shit is old. Okay, that's coming from a very old paradigm. I want you to start to practice and start to be in this like excitement of something really real and connected. You guys, there's nothing like this like true connection where if you've never experienced it, I dare you to experience it. It's scary as fuck, right? But it's so good. It's like it melts you. You're just like, gooey. So anyway, that's what I get to invite you to start to practice and start to commit to that infatuation. Get infatuated with that shit, people. Get infatuated with it. And look yourself in the mirror and create a practice every single day when you wake up in the morning. And it's not only for women, for men. Guys, I'm talking to you because I'm talking to you, right? Because it's who I'm talking to. Because us women have, most of us, not all of us, but for the most part, the women have started to create this practice, right? And this is why you're seeing a lot of confident women out there. You're seeing a lot of independent women out there. But men, it's time, ladies, it's time for us to invite them to rise with us. We get to work with them. We can't just leave them behind, right? We need them. I know we say we don't need men. I mean, ideally, we don't really need them, but how wonderful is it that they could partner up with us and they could lead, right? We could pave the way for them to start to lead again. And gentlemen, non-negotiable, stop wasting your time fucking around online. Start to get really truthful about who you are. Look in the mirror and do the work. It's scary, I know, and it's not something that you're going to devote yourself to, because for you, I get it, it's not your priority. Relationships are just not the masculine priority. It just isn't, right? Your purpose is your priority. I get it. So have a relationship with that. Start there, your purpose. You're going to attract that beautiful high vibe woman who could really support and be behind your purpose. That's what you want, right? And so a devotional woman how sexy is it for a man to see a woman in her own devotion for self? Like, there's nothing like it. It's so beautiful and sexy. I hear from men all the time, like when their woman is so devotionally devoted to herself, she could bring that to the relationship, and that devotion is just so attractive. It creates attraction. It creates that like, again, it's that yumminess. It's so yummy. It's so, anyway. All right. You would think I just had coffee and I didn't. I'm just so high on life right now. All right, well, I hope that supported you. Yes, rant plus rave it, girl. Yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. All day, air day. I don't know. I can't speak this millennial language, you people. Thank you for letting me speak. To exercise my voice. It's just, there's nothing to it. It's like such a gift, and I appreciate you listening, for however, whomever is listening to this, you are meant to hear this, and it's for you. For those of you who are just mindlessly hearing this, and it's not for you, and you're in judgment, beautiful. Look at that. It's all good, right? I don't need that validation, and neither do you, but there's something there. I don't know. Take whatever works for you and leave the rest for someone else. In case you didn't hear today, you matter, you're worthy, and I love you, and I appreciate you, and make it go viral, people. I don't know, share this, do whatever your little heart's desire, and if you're someone that this is calling you and you want to start to do the devotional work, you want to start to get infatuated with yourself and your practice, DM me. I got you. We could jump on a 30-minute call, 15-minute discovery call first, and then we'll get to see if we could work together. If this works for you, great. If you want to be part of my group, great. Let's create something, but we got to create a world that is authentic and true, where we get to really be able to use our voice and step into our own authentic confidence so that we can attract people who work for us, not people who we're trying to fix and peg into this, right? Imagine a relationship that's just like this, hot and sexy and heavy and yummy. That's my goal, is to teach you how to have that. Anyway, that's what I got for you today. Have a good evening, whatever you were doing, and be devotional and infatuated with yourself. Go right on with your bad self. Love ya.